If you're an e-commerce founder in the early days and you're not getting as much quality traffic as you need, this video has that answer. You've probably tried a few things already, Meta ads, Google ads, posting in the void, and you feel like nothing works. Well, here's the twist that only pro marketers seem to understand. Most brands that scale fast don't win because they try everything. They win because they focus on one channel that works and master it. And that's what the Bullseye Marketing Framework is for. It's a structured way to find your best customer channel, scale it profitably, and stop wasting your precious time and money. I've personally used this framework to help grow over 100 startups now, some of them to 7 figures. And I'm not the only one. This framework was designed by Gabrielle Weinberg, the founder of DuckDuckGo, which means it's being used by actual unicorns. And if you don't use this framework, you'll switch tactics every 2 weeks, you'll burn your whole budget, and eventually you'll lose your business. So the Bullseye Marketing Framework breaks down your potential customer acquisition options into 3 rings. First up is the outer ring. This shows the 19 possible channels that you have for growing your business. Yes, 19. I'm going to assume that, just like me, you have been overwhelmed with the amount of marketing options out there in the world. But from the moment I found this framework, that completely disappeared. There's only 19 things to choose from, which is far better than choosing from the unknown quantity like before. I will now absolutely zoom through these options so that you don't get bored and click away. Just pause the video if you want to read into the descriptions of any. Viral marketing, public relations, unconventional PR, search engine marketing, social and display ads, offline ads, search engine optimization, content marketing, email marketing, engineering as marketing, targeting blogs. And there's business development, sales, affiliate marketing, existing platforms, trade shows, offline events, speaking engagements, and community building. You still with me? The reality is that most founders start by picking what's trendy or what their mate said that worked for their dropshipping store back in 2018. But there's the trap. The point is to test exactly what works for your completely unique context. In a second, I will show you how to rapidly test each of the most promising channels and how most brands get stuck in the early testing phase because they skip this step. Okay, section 2 is the middle ring. This is where we get to work. I want you to go through each of the 19 traction channels and decide which ones work for your target customer, and refer back to your perfect customer avatar to help you make these decisions. If you haven't got one of these yet, make sure to watch this video here where I explain you through why you need one and give you the full framework on how to create one. We are always, at all times, thinking about our customer first. Only then do we pick through that short list of potential channels and see which ones aligns with your team's skill set the most. Oh, and if you're a solo founder, essentially what are you good at and what do you want to spend more time doing? This will give you a short list of all the channels that you have the best chance of success with. And now it's time to run some MVP style tests. If you've been here before, you might start to see a bit of a theme in the processes here at Grow. Just a quick reminder, MVP stands for minimum viable product, although we like to push it a step further and call it a minimum viable process. So what's the cheapest and easiest way that you can test something to prove whether you are right or wrong? So we're talking 1 to 2 week max sprints where you run experiments on each of these channels with very clear, defined metrics and tracking. The goal is to answer this question. Do we have early signs of life on this channel? And stop, I can hear you saying, Joel, you told us to focus on one channel. Yes, absolutely, but have patience. For example, over the next 3 weeks, you run 3 different tests. You try Instagram Reels with daily videos for a week. You get 200 views per video, you get 3 comments, and maybe you get 1 DM with a product-related question. Then you go and test a £50 budget on a Google ad campaign for the next week. The click-through rate, or CTR, is pretty decent, but the bounce rate is dreadful. As soon as they land on your website, they disappear. You run a promo on a micro-influencer's story, you get about 15,000 views, you get 12 clicks through onto your website, and you get 0 conversions. This is where sometimes it gets a little bit difficult for founders to understand which of those tests was successful and which they should throw in the bin. Understanding that we aren't likely to see profitability at this stage in the process. We are simply looking for signs that your customer responds to what you're offering on these channels. If we can get literally 1 conversion, then that's good news. And when you do find that working channel, the inner ring of the Bullseye Marketing Framework is where you really see some traction, but I'll get to that in the 3rd section. Before that, a reminder that I am standing on the shoulders of giants with this framework. It was coined by Gabriel Weinberg, and I strongly suggest his book, Traction. It breaks down each of the 19 different ways of getting customers or traction channels. And more importantly, it gives real-world tests. I really struggled to say that for a while. And more importantly, it gives you real-world tests for each of the channels for you to do yourself. It's genuinely, no kidding here, one of my top 3 business books. On to section 3, the inner ring of the framework. So, you found your spark on one of these channels. It shouldn't have taken you more than 5 to 10 weekly sprints to get to this point and to really solidify which of these channels has the best potential. Now, even though I say that, I fully understand how frustrating it is to hear videos say online how easy it is to do a thing and how it should do X, Y, Z, and then for some reason it just doesn't turn out to be true for you. So at the end of this video, I will give you a step-by-step process on what to do if things aren't going to plan. Okay, so maybe your winning channel is Instagram, maybe it's a niche subreddit, maybe it's a good old-fashioned lead magnets and email marketing. Whatever it is, now it is time to focus. This is where you move all of your resources onto that one channel. And that's the Bullseye Marketing Framework. A perfectly common and very natural response to this entire framework is, what if I go all in on one channel and a year later it completely disappears for whatever reason? Won't I be left high and dry? Well, yes, I want you to really focus on this one channel to get your first customers through the door. But as soon as you have enough time or money to start branching out and finding backup channels, we will get onto that. But here's the twist. Doubling down doesn't just mean doing more and more of what worked that one time. It means dedication to mastering that one channel through a process of constant experimentation and incremental improvements over time. So let's say that TikTok worked. You don't just go and make more TikToks, you actually try and systemize it. You find 2 creators who are happy to replicate your style. You build out a monthly content calendar based on what you know performs already. You start A/B testing different hooks, different CTAs, different content formats. You make sure to hook up your analytics and see what actually drives sales rather than just vanity metrics. And then when you have that system working, you layer on paid media on top of that to really stoke the fire. So this part of the Bullseye Marketing Framework isn't about throwing money at it. It's about systemizing what's working into a customer generation machine. Before I go on to talk about what to do when things really aren't working, let me just summarize the Bullseye Marketing Framework for you. You narrow down your 19 options to those that make sense for your customer. You then pick from that selection which ones suit your skill sets. You run rapid MVP style tests for each of these. You collect all the data and you commit your efforts to the one that has the highest potential. You build your own systems around that and you start to scale what's working. Then, when you can afford it, you go back to your other potential channels and you start thinking about building backups, because every single marketing strategy plateaus or fatigues, or the golden era always ends at some point. So do eventually always fortify your customer acquisition strategies. Okay, so you're running MVP style tests and none of the channels are really giving you what you want. I am going to ask you 3 important questions and you have to answer these honestly. You need to remove your ego, otherwise this entire exercise is pointless. Number 1. Are the metrics that you're using to measure this test actually the right ones? Obviously, if you're unsure about which metrics you should be measuring or what exactly dictates success, that's okay. Just drop us a message with your current tests and we will help you define which metrics and kind of the threshold for what's positive. Question number 2. Have you truly produced a high enough quality output to get the response that you desire on this channel? Now, I know it's MVP, rapid style tests, but there is a certain level of quality that people expect on each channel or each platform. And if you're not hitting that, then you can't really expect to succeed on it. We need to understand that the competition for people's attention is unbelievably high nowadays. And we need to match that and eventually outperform all of the options on that channel. And finally, question 3. Have you actually validated that people will want to buy what you are selling through customer discovery or any other pre-revenue tool? If you're still in the stage of hoping that people will want this thing and they'll pay this price, then bad metrics on all the channels is likely the wake-up call that you don't have validation for it yet. And if you're struggling to validate, then let me help you by watching this video here, where I explain how to get early indicators that you are sitting on a gold mine. Let's continue that conversation over there.